Hi everybody, I'm Rhonda with the Stitch in Time Embroidery Designs, and today we're going to stitch out our Blooming Heart Applique on a t-shirt. I'm going to show you guys how I hoop t-shirts. I have been in the embroidery business since late 1997. I think I officially started my business in early 1998, and I actually embroider hundreds of shirts a month. So a lot of practice on t-shirts, button-up shirts, polo shirts, all of the above. So I'm going to show you how I do it or how I did it before I had a hooping board. Because I know a lot of you probably don't have hooping boards, so I'm going to show you how I do it without one. I also stitched it really quick on this fabric so I could show you because the red kind of shows up better on camera. So this is using glitter heat transfer vinyl. I've used Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl on here on this applique instead of fabric. Now you can use fabric. It's beautiful with satin. And during the video, I'll show you a close-up of one I did with just red fabric to show you the detail in the heart. But it is just so pretty with glitter heat transfer vinyl too. I thought I'd show you guys that today. So this design fits in a 5x7 hoop. In the video, I'll be using a 6x6 hoop because it happens to be my favorite. And I find it easier for t-shirts. It's kind of square. It's not a rectangle, so it's easier to flip that t-shirt. Inside out when you go to put it on a single needle machine. If you don't have a multi-needle machine, I do have one of those in here, but I'm going to show you how to do it on a single needle machine because I think that's what the majority of you will be using. So let's go over to the cutting table and we'll get started. I'll show you how I hooped this t-shirt. All right, so I have a 100% cotton t-shirt here. I've folded it in half, and I'm going to match up the edges just to make sure that I have the center front, match up the shoulder seams too, put it all nice and flat, and give it a quick press. This is going to make sure we actually get the design in the center of the shirt. And like I said, we're doing it this way in case you don't have a hooping board. If you have a hooping board, the whole process is a lot quicker and easier, but this is really not, it really doesn't take that long to do. So now we can spread our shirt out, and of course I've pressed the entire thing, which also makes it easier to hoop. You have that line down the center, that crease down the center. So I've printed out our design and, kind of drew crosshairs, darkened them on the front so that we can see right where we need to place it. And I'm going to place the top of the design approximately 3 inches down from the top of the neckline. That works perfect for this design. Usually the placement is anywhere from say 3 to 5 inches, the top of the design down from the top of the neckline. And you can adjust that accordingly to the size of the t-shirt. One reason I like to print out the design that I'm using is because I can try on that t-shirt and make sure I have it in a place that looks great and perfect for me or whoever's wearing it. So I'm just going to tape it on there. You can do that, or you can just draw with chalk or something, crosshairs on your shirt. So I'm using 2 layers of a poly mesh cutaway. It's a thin cutaway, and 1 layer of tearaway. The tearaway is going to go in the very bottom, so it's easy to remove when we're all done. And I'm going to use that 6x6 hoop like I mentioned, just because it's so much easier than the 5x7 to flip that particular size t-shirt inside out when I go to put it on the machine. So we're going to put the hoop underneath, in between the layers of the shirt, the top and the bottom. And I'm kind of just feeling my way to make sure I have it in about the right place there. And then I'm going to take all 3 layers of that stabilizer. And for t-shirts, I kind of like to use that thin stabilizer so you can't see it from the outside later on when we're all finished. It's not thick, it kind of just hides itself back there and it's not noticeable on your t-shirt. So the most important thing here is to just smooth out the t-shirt. No wrinkles. That's why I like to iron the front of it like that. So just kind of smooth it out with your hands and pop the top of the hoop on. Don't pull. I know you see me pulling right there, but I'm not actually stretching the t-shirt. That top of the hoop is just laying on top of it. So you never want to pull on that fabric after you get that hoop on, or when the hoop's halfway on or whatever, because then you're going to stretch the fabric in the hoop, and that's when you're going to cause puckers to happen. So just kind of lay it over, smooth it out with your hands, and then pop the top on. That's the whole secret to hooping a t-shirt. So now we have it all hooped. It didn't take us very long at all, did it? So we're going to put it on the machine, and we have to flip the top over like that so that nothing is underneath that hoop. How many of you have ever put a t-shirt on there and accidentally left some of the fabric underneath, so that when you pull it off, you've stitched the front to the back by accident? So we want to make sure here that none of this t-shirt is underneath that hoop. So take some time here, feel underneath it, make sure there's nothing underneath, and kind of just move that fabric around to get it out of the way. You can put tape on it or clips on it, whatever, to make sure it doesn't fall in. I'm kind of going to keep an eye on it, and I'm right here, so I know, I can watch. It's not going to fall in. And the first step that's going to stitch is the outline for the applique. You can use fabric, like I mentioned before, but today we are going to use heat transfer vinyl instead of fabric, because who doesn't like sparkle, right? So here's my heat transfer vinyl, and I'm going to take that clear carrier sheet off of the top of that vinyl. We don't want to stitch that stuff, so we're just going to pull it off, and we're just going to use that vinyl as if it was fabric. So we're going to center it over that placement stitch, and then the next stitch is going to stitch it in place. And heat transfer vinyl, I find, is a little thicker than the glitter heat transfer vinyl. I find is a little thicker than the regular heat transfer vinyl, so I don't like to tear it, because I don't want to accidentally maybe, loosen those stitches or anything, or pull that shirt loose in the hoop at all. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim it just like it was fabric, instead of just pulling the edges off and tearing it. This is easier if you take the hoop completely off of the machine and put it back on your cutting table. I'm just doing it on the machine bed right here, just because it's where the camera is right now, and I don't have to switch cameras. I am using a little Kai, Kai, double curved scissors here with a blunt tip. The reason I like the blunt tip one is it doesn't get caught in the fabric by accident, but it's so small and it's bent. It has that nice curve to it, so it's easy to use in the hoop like that when you're trimming applique. I don't think it's sold as an applique scissors, but it works perfect for that. So I'll put the link for that underneath this video also, in case you want to grab a pair and check it out for yourself. So we're just going to trim all that excess heat transfer vinyl away. And some of our designs where we use heat transfer vinyl, it doesn't have anything on the outside of the vinyl. So you can do the whole design and then just rip away the vinyl from the outside edges. But in this case, we have these little green vines all around the edges, so we're going to trim it all out of the way first. So let's get that hoop back on, and then we're just going to stitch out the rest of the design. I'm going to make sure that we don't have any of that shirt in the way. I'm also going to speed this up, and we're going to skip some parts here because I stitched this out. I usually stitch out pretty slow at 600 stitches per minute. So I think it took 25 minutes to stitch out at that speed. So instead of just watching the whole thing stitch out, I'm just kind of fast forward through it a little bit. And if you want to dive in deeper and take more time learning how to hoop t-shirts, every now and then I do offer a Zoom class where we hoop t-shirts, and I really take my time and go through what I just showed you really quickly in this one. And with Zoom, I can see everybody on their camera, so if anybody's having trouble, we can work through it like that. But That's one thing that I really took the time to learn and master when I first started my business 20 something years ago, is to learn how to hoop a shirt. It just goes so much faster. I have never used a fusible backing or anything on shirts simply because I'm doing too many and that takes too much time. And time is money when you're doing it for a business. So, taking the time to just learn to hoop them and get them on the machine quickly is the best thing to do. Okay, so the next color here is going to stitch like this random stitching all over the top of that heart. I put a picture here of it close up where I stitched it on red satin. So you can see, you see those little tiny pink random stitches all over the place? So if you want to skip that part, you can. I actually like it on top of the vinyl because it helps hold the vinyl in place. And it, you know, it gives it even more of an interesting look there. So we kind of like to put everything in separate color changes so you can skip different parts, you know, depending on what you want to do, or put it different colors or whatever. I'm using the same color thread as the heat transfer vinyl here, so that it blends in, because the glitter makes it hard to see any stitching on top. So that part's all done. And now we're going to stitch a satin stitch all around the outside edge. And since there is a color change there, you can use a different color if you want to on that outside edge right there. All right, so that's all done. And then we're going to stitch this little motif heart in the middle like that. It's a double outline heart, you know, with some little, I forgot what you call them. It's escaping me right now, but it looks cute on top. If you don't want that on top, just skip that step. I did it in red to match the shirt. And when I did the red heart, I did it in white because it really looks pretty on that red. I'll probably do a pink shirt, just like the one I have on, with a red heart too, because I love the way this looks in red. Okay, so all that's left on this now is the little flowers on the outside. So I'm going to do those in kind of a lavender, periwinkle kind of color, whatever you want to call that. And they don't take very long to stitch out either. That's the underlay that you see going down right now. And then there's the one on the other side. And then the middle of the flowers are going to stitch, and that's the end of that design right there. It's cute. It doesn't have a whole lot of color changes. Pretty easy to do. And as long as you have your shirt hooped right, it's going to come out beautiful. No puckers, no anything. And I think you'll be really happy with it. This would be cute on a tote bag also. And maybe even some linens. I kind of like it because it has the flowers and everything, so you don't have to use it just for Valentine's Day. But with Valentine's Day coming up, I thought it would be really cute on a shirt. All right, so that's all done. All we have to do is take it off the machine. We're going to take it over to the cutting table and get the stabilizer off the back. So pop your hoop out, and we're going to flip it to the back side and get that tearaway off. So just carefully tear that away. It's pretty thin tearaway that I'm using. And I'll tell you right now, you can sit there and pick all that tearaway out with tweezers. I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you that you can do it if you want. That's really tedious. And what I do find with tearaway is after you wash it a few times, it's going to soften up. It's going to end up coming out, most of it by itself anyway, in the wash. So I don't worry about it. I'm just going to hang that shirt by the stabilizer because it lets the shirt fall behind it and I don't accidentally cut the shirt. I'm not getting super close to that design because I don't want to accidentally cut it. And I want to leave a tiny bit of stabilizer on the outside edges, probably about a ½ inch or so, just because I think it's better for the design. All right, so we have the stabilizer cut. I know a lot of you worry so much about how the inside of the shirt looks, but I promise you, I have never had a customer come back in all these years and say the shirt's ugly on the inside. They don't care. They just want the outside to be pretty. Okay, for those of you who are worried about the dreaded hoop burn, it's fine. You just grab a, spray bottle with some water. If you can't stand it, all that is you've kind of crushed the fibers in the shirt with the hoop. And that's why we don't over tighten the hoop either. I go in detail in some of my t-shirt classes about that, how to set the hoop for the right tightness for a shirt. But if you just spritz it with some water real quick, it relaxes the fibers in the shirt again. Look at that, they're all gone. So that's all it takes to get rid of hoop burn on, on cotton and knits and things like that. Of course, you're not going to get rid of it on leather, so never hoop something like that. But there's our design. It's all finished. Look how nice and sparkly it is. No puckers. It's beautiful because we hooped it without stretching that knit. We used the proper stabilizer, and it is all done. What do you guys think? All right. I hope everybody had a great time and that you picked up a couple of new tips here and there. And I would love to see if you stitch out our Blooming Heart applique on a t-shirt or a tote bag or a kid's shirt or whatever you dream up to stitch it on. We would love to see it in our group. So I'll have the links below for you to join our Facebook group. If you're not in there yet, would love to see you there where you can post photos of all the things that you make with our designs. And since I forgot to mention, these are freestanding lace heart earrings that are also for sale on our website. And I will put those in the links below too. Hope to see you at another video soon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.